to this film, which is going to be about your one of the controlled assessments that you need to do for English. Basically, I'm going to talk you through what you've got to do. I should say at the start, this is really aimed at people doing the AQA English language syllabus. It might, if you're doing another syllabus like OCR, EdXL, it might not apply to you in the same way. Some of it, I guess, will be relevant, but mainly this is aimed at people doing AQA English language. Now, what's it all about? What are we learning to do here? Well, I think it's important to say from the start, the point of this, this learning, the time you're spending in school, is not just to do your controlled assessment. It's not just about, that's not the point of what we're here for. Really, we're trying to teach you guys to write, and to write better and to improve your writing, which is an exciting thing to do. So we want you to be able to write successfully, to write engaging, successful, exciting text for different audiences, for different purposes. So we always keep that in mind. In terms of these videos, really I'm trying to get you to understand what you've got to do, so the content, the tasks, and how you sort of go about it, how you can prepare, just basic tips really about what you've got to do. Right, this is your English GCSE. Now Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 1 is the exam, which I'm not going to talk to you about, but if you're interested in the exam, loads of videos on Charwell Online that will take you through it. This bit here, Unit 3, understanding spoken and written texts and writing creatively, 40% of the total GCSE marks. We're doing, in this video, which I'm particularly aiming at Year 9 in Charwell at the moment, Part B, creative writing, 15% of the total GCSE marks, but that's for 2 pieces. We're only currently doing 1 piece, so basically this piece of work you're about to do is worth 7.5-ish % of your total GCSE. Okay, right, what are you going to do? Let's get on with it. Well, the exam board, AQA, they give us various different options of what you can do. Here behind me you'll see all the 6 options they've given us at the moment. So you will have to do 2 of these tasks. You might want to take a moment to have a look at them. It may be that your teacher tells you which one you have to do. They sort of choose for you, or you choose as a class. It may be you're allowed to choose. You'd have to negotiate that with your teacher. For the purposes of this film, and for the class that I'm teaching at the moment, we're going to have a crack at this one, which says, and the Oscar goes to write an article about a film you think deserves an award. Okay, so just think about that for a moment. Now, how do we approach it? Well, first piece of advice we give you is to flap, and that's when you get any sort of piece of writing that you need to create. These are the things, the decisions you need to make. This is what you need to know about your task. What's the form? What sort of language do you need to use? Who's the audience? And what's the purpose? Now, if you think about our task, and the Oscar goes to, well, form it's an article. We're not writing a letter, we're not writing a radio script, we're not writing a story, we're writing an article. So you need to decide, well, what then does that mean? What do I need to include in an article? Things might be, you might include a headline, you might include, probably in an article, a really interesting, gripping first paragraph or introduction to get your reader gripped. You might also have a really, really clear conclusion. In an article about a film, you're going to have to include lots of knowledge about the film. Okay? Partly you can give your opinion, but you're going to have to make sure that you know that film. You can't just rock up to this controlled assessment and have a go about a film that you don't know very well. Because obviously if you're writing an article, it's got to be convincing. You've got to show that you know your stuff, know the detail. So that's form. Language, well actually what I'm going to do is look at audience first. Now, who's the audience for this piece of work? Doesn't say. Right? AQA don't give us an audience, which is quite good because it means we can choose our own. And what we decided in class is that we're going to write for pretty much a sort of young adult, teenage audience. Okay? It's going to be pretty wide, I suppose, but that's the audience that we're going to. So we've got to think, right, what kind of language do we need then? Well, obviously our language has got to be exciting and interesting and sort of draw the reader in. That's one thing. To some extent your language has got to be informative because you're going to have to give facts and give information about this film. To some extent with this task, perhaps it needs to be persuasive and argue techniques in there a little bit as well, because you might choose to argue that it deserves an award. Okay, so it's kind of quite loose. You can choose the exact language techniques that you want to use, but at the end of the day, you'll be assessed on writing kind of exciting, sparky, interesting pieces of work. Okay, purpose then, well, again, to some extent it's explain and inform, to some extent you might choose to try and persuade as well, and you won't get any marks taken off you for doing that. Do whatever you want to do in that sense. How do we be successful? What are the key things that examiners are looking for, or what are the key things actually that make a decent piece of writing? Well, our advice is that you don't overcomplicate this in your own thinking. There's only really so much you can do in a piece of writing in terms of the skills that you need to apply. First of all, you need the best ideas and the best content that you can. So put some time into thinking about that, put some time into planning the best ideas you can. Secondly, you need words, you need your writing to be accurate, and you need to choose the best words you can for your purpose. So we're looking for vocabulary that's more advanced, that's precise, precisely explaining what you've got to do, that's accurate, that's well spelt. In words we'd include things like, you might use imagery, you might use repetition and language techniques and that sort of thing. We're putting that in with words. Sentences, they've got to be accurate in the first place, right? You will really struggle if you don't use capital letters and full stops and all that sort of stuff, if you don't get the basics right. But then beyond that, you need to show a bit of variety, a bit of flair and excitement in your sentences. So things like full range, rhetorical questions, short sentences, single sentence paragraphs, we'll be going up to paragraphs a little bit, complex sentences as well. Some really good videos on this playlist should be about learning some advanced sentence structures. Finally, paragraphs and structure. Make sure you are writing in paragraphs. That's your basic. You will struggle if you don't write in paragraphs. And also make sure then, once you've got that in place, that you're being thoughtful about the paragraphs that you're using. So, for example, you might link the beginning and the end paragraphs of your work. You might link between paragraphs using phrases such as, off the top of my head, not only that, secondly, thirdly. Another good reason is to show that you're linking your paragraphs together. So that is that. I'll now make another quick film to show you some approaches to planning your work.